Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye has friends. No, really, Jeff has friends. Jeff's friends are on this podcast. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship.
Friendship.
Welcome back to the #1 rated, most viewed, most listened to podcast of 2018, Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast. Happy to have you guys here. We have another great guest. We still got Marsh. We still got Tony Reavis in the house. This thing is making millions of dollars, and it's been the talk of everybody's talking about it. Everybody's trying to get on the podcast. Everyone's trying to sponsor it. Guys, thank you. We're very grateful. Joe McKenzie, thanks for the little jingle that you just heard. What can I tell you guys? This guest is really funny, really beautiful, very talented, and a great actress. Actress-comedian LYNN RAJSKUB is on the podcast, and she's also the only guest I've practiced saying her last name over and over before we started. You guys are going to love her. She's known Marsh for a long time. She's known me for a little while, and today is the first time she meets Tony Reavis, so you'll see what happens there. Enjoy this one. This one's a fun one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Patreon subscribers, we appreciate you. We love you. If you want to watch the podcast, go over to patreon.com/Jeff Dye. Join a tier. You can watch the podcast as well as listen to it. And just adds another layer of excitement. Looking at us is way better than listening to us. Yeah, enjoy. And we're in. Welcome back to another episode of Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast. As usual, we have Tony in the house.
Hello.
Tony, thanks for being here.
Of course.
Did you have a good week?
Yeah.
Good. That's
week.
all I want to know. That's all I want to know.
I didn't really. The Mariners did real bad last week, and it kind of upset me. But
and you're like, why do bad things happen to good people?
I think that every day of my life.
Hashtag white privilege. Marsh in the house.
What's up? How you doing?
How are you, brother?
I feel weird saying it like that, like I'm talking to an audience of people.
Yeah, well, we are.
Oh, hey, what's up, audience of people?
What a silly weirdo. How was your week?
It was pretty good. The Mariners did bad, and it really cheered me up.
Okay.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, well, I watched your Cardinals.
My Cardinals?
Yeah.
Okay, this is how we're starting?
Yeah, that's how we're starting. All right, let's just get to the guest, man. I'm excited.
And no one cares about
Sports,
us.
you guys.
I know. Well, you know,
Oh,
it's
no,
like,
who was your team? How did they do?
Sport. They did some sports stuff.
That's great.
that is
World
the
Cup,
voice of
Mexico.
none other than LYNN RAJSKUB.
Hi.
Big applause. Big applause. Thank you for being
everybody. So happy to be here.
here. She's a comedian. She's an actress,
Ooh.
a mom,
Ooh.
a wife. Is that the
Whoa.
order? Did I do that in the wrong order?
Exactly.
I don't know how it works.
Try again, Jeff.
I don't think we've
been
ever had a
over
mom
this.
on the podcast.
We've been over this. You've never had a mom.
No.
on the
We've had 0
podcast.
moms.
So delightful.
Yeah, we
Mostly
had a
because we
rule.
don't book females. I mean, but
Right.
no, that's not true. We've had
I feel
females, but
honored.
you are the first mom.
Across all counts.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being
For
here.
the vagina and then for the vagina again.
Well, we
And
love
things
vagina.
that
It's
grow
not.
and
That's
come
not the
out.
reason. I don't know why you made it about your privates.
Well, I mean, it's time to cut through the bullshit and get
That's
to
true.
what's real.
The hard hitting stuff.
Something grew in there,
Yeah.
a human, and it came out. And
It's
now you're
fascinating.
drawing a line in the sand, and I say, let's draw it.
I like that. I respect it. Well, here's my first question for you: is how many people when they interview you, like
14.
14
Ooh,
people?
ooh, that's good.
14 people? No, you've had way more than that just on the internet.
I just was pre-answering your question.
Oh.
I want to see if I'm close.
Hundreds of people have interviewed you. And do they say Chloe from 24 because they have so much trouble with your last name?
No, they say Chloe from 24 because they love that show and
Yeah.
people identify me from that show.
I think
Because
I'd
it was
wanna say your real name.
such a massive hit and such an iconic character.
I'll verify that it is a hit. Yeah.
It's definitely a hit. Definitely an iconic character.
And then separately from that,
but you're
people
the
give
woman
up-
who plays the character.
Yeah.
You think they would say your name.
Yeah, you would think. It's
You'd
amazing how
think.
they don't.
Why don't they? Because your name's hard.
Because I create such a real false reality.
It's
that
right.
People are
Asking is so good.
Hard to separate the two.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's how powerful.
So real.
I feel like
my
they're like,
acting mechanism is.
ladies and gentlemen, we have Mary Lynn. Chloe from 24 is here. It feels like that.
Yeah.
Is that not what it is?
No, not really.
All right, fair enough. Well,
I see them as both separate. Trouble with the last name and.
Which one's your favorite?
yeah, what do you prefer? Should we call
I like
you
Trouble
Chloe?
with the last name. It's weird because I absolutely love that I was able to play that character, but it's hard to move on. It's a weird thing because it's an amazing credit to have, but
Yeah.
it's also hard to move on when that's like the thing,
Mhm.
you know? I'd like to be a lot of things.
Like Urkel or Screech, you know, they can't get things after that.
Thanks
you know?
for
They're
connecting
stuck
me to
being
that.
Yeah, but that's
Urkel.
different though because like you're a comedian as well, and that's not a comedic
Of course.
role. So
No,
you've already
it's
shown
not.
you've already shown that range.
Yeah, your acting
So you're
chops. yeah.
way
And now I'm
way
in
out
a
the
weird
range.
position with stand up where I've had many sets where I don't mention it at all. But a lot of times, especially if I'm on the road, and I still do mention it depending on what, but it's a very strange thing because there are people that have not seen the show. So there's pockets of people that are like, why then Chloe? And then people are like, what the fuck? Like, who does she think she is? So to marry those two energies of
Yeah.
acknowledging like, yes, I am an incredible superstar and a computer genius who saves the world on the most serious drama. But hey guys, I'm a comedian. And then over here, it's like, I'm just a lady who's awkward and whatever. I don't think I'm anything. This person thinks I'm a huge star. You don't. I get that. You think I'm stupid and I agree with you, but you think I'm amazing and you don't know why I'm here. I get that too because I'll do B comedy rooms, and I've had people come up to me all dressed up, like like the Laughing Skull, which I love that room.
Yeah, great
Everyone,
room.
up across the board, usually comedians like that room, but it's not really the nicest space. And I've had couples
really?
like totally dressed up, like, hey, we're so excited to see you. Just already walking in the door,
Sure.
it's just a deflation of like. Why?
Well, you have to walk through that crappy bar to get to the stage, and then the stage is, or not the stage, but that little showroom
It's
is very
sorta
small
dusty.
too.
Yeah, it's a little
Like
dusty.
sells out at like 50.
I feel like there's like wooden things that haven't been finished or painted, like edges of
Oh my
chairs
gosh.
or the
True.
lip of the stage. You just see nails and like naked wood and a
There's enough
dusty old
OCD
person.
comics. You think they just finish it?
Yeah.
Like they would just book Todd Glass and just let him
I
show
knew
up
you were gonna
hours
say
early.
that. That's
I don't
so
know.
funny.
I feel like what the owner does is like, it's gonna be dark in here anyways. No one's gonna notice. Like when the show starts,
That's why it's dark in there.
Everyone's drunk in there. It
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
matter.
why
I mean,
would we fix
maybe
it?
it's a smart business move if you are a small club and you're, you keep your overhead under, and then you keep it under the overhead.
I don't know business.
I just got really tired.
I just the overhang.
Just got really tired.
Ooh.
It is a. Do you ever have people that do this? I've had this happen to me, but I feel like you're on a way better show, bigger show. But like they'll be like, you'll not mention that you're from 24, and then you get to
Right.
that part in your act where maybe you choose to do that bit,
Right.
and then people go, "Oh, that's how." Like,
Sure.
yeah, yeah, that happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that? What's your thing that people do that with you?
Or just any shows I've been on. Like I'll mention like Better
She
Late
just
Than
looks
Never. or
straight at the
something.
Better Late Than Never poster and then ask you that question.
Yeah, I'm on a show with a bunch of old guys, so sometimes my crowd is full of old people who are really enjoying me, and all the young people are like, "How is this possible?
Right.
Why are these old people enjoying this? They shouldn't be. They
I
don't."
mean, I guess that's a fair, yeah. So you get that
Yeah.
sort of like people, I guess that's an audience in general.
Yeah.
It's just different versions of that. And
Girl
mine
Code
just has,
audiences are like 17 years old, and then Better Late Than Never audiences are like 75 years old.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Which
You-
audience
and you
thinks gonna
trip out,
follow
so-
you longer?
well,
Statistically.
yeah, I
Yes.
think the way
Which one's over
history's
the
going,
under of the overhead? Which one's
Exactly.
got a longer time to spend money on there.
I mean,
I think the way history's going, though, the young people are going to stop liking me just because like everything offends them. Like literally everything is like something that is frustrating to
Well,
them.
stop being so offensive.
I'm famously been like the nerd, clean dork, not edgy guy, and then like even now, like you can't even mention a thing. It's crazy.
That's what's so funny is you are.
What do you say that's offensive?
Well, today in particular, there's things that Aaron, because I like host on like Access Hollywood, and I was making jokes about Mariah Carey came out and said that she's bipolar and she has mental illness, and then I was on there to be funny. Access Live is supposed to be funny, and so I was just being playful and being like, yeah, how do we know she really has it? I mean, maybe she's just trying to sell a book about bipolar disorder, and now she's saying she has it, kind of like when Howie Mandel was like, oh, I have a germ thing, so he could sell germ thing books and have an whole hour about how he's a germ thing, and it was just a joke. People went crazy on Twitter and ruined my entire day. I was just kind of like sad, like
Mariah
pretending
Carey
like I don't
both
care.
liked and got mad at him.
Well, I'm friends with her boyfriend, Brian Tanaka. And I was like, this isn't a big... I know they don't care. But it's just all these like silly people on Twitter.
That's interesting.
And I'm incapable of not reading
But she would
that.
either laugh or not think anything of
Give a
it.
shit. Yeah, she wouldn't care at all. And he doesn't care. No, nobody important cares. It's all these young people that are like, why would he make light of this? You're not supposed to make light of this. It's like, oh, I'm on the show to be funny, whether I succeed or fail at that or not. I'm trying to like... just be light and silly and playful on that thing. And then there was a girl next to me who's there to be serious. And she was like, oh, this is great for mental illness to have a face like Mariah Carey, which is, she's right. And it shouldn't be stigmatized and all that stuff. But like everyone missed the point that I was going for a joke. And that's why young people are a little harder to
Those
perform
shows are
for.
tricky because it's right in between, because it's like pop culture entertainment, so it's not really necessarily.
It's definitely not news. It's an entertainment show where they hired a comedian to come on.
But they present it as news.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The
sort of.
vibe of it doesn't necessarily lend itself. You would think it would to people, I guess, are being, but.
Well, my boss loved it, and I actually got a lot of positive things like, oh, this guy's hilarious, blah, blah. I said, like, if Mariah Carey has bipolarness, I want bipolarness. That's great. I want what these celebrities got, man. If she's got it.
Get some stuff
how
done.
do I get bipolar?
I only got one polar.
And then one of the other guys, like the host guy, was like, I think you can get on Amazon. It's like, oh, I'm getting it then. If Mariah Carey got it, I want it. And we're just being silly. Everyone's laughing, but then a bunch of people were upset. But that's like, do you play colleges?
No.
You have, though.
No, I haven't.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
you're so lucky. Because they're brutal. It's worse than a corporate times like 1,000.
It is?
Yes.
Some people like colleges, or it's okay with them because I guess you make money, right?
You do make money. That's the good part. But you have money.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why they like it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, I bombed and I made 10 grand. Where
I don't have that much money.
you have more than 10 grand, I'm sure.
Well, let's not get into that. That's sort of
That leads me
tacky.
to my second question. How much money do you have? Just kidding.
Next
It's not a real question. No, so tell me how you go, like, where did comedy start? Like, where did you go? I want to be a comedian. That's one of my things I'm most interested in when I have people on.
I'm still not sure if I'm saying that.
Why?
I don't know.
You're definitely a comedian. You've done the Tonight Show. The first time I ever saw you, you were doing stand-up comedy. You were doing stand-up before the success of 24. Like, right? You were stand-up first.
Yeah, no, I'm just being cheeky and evasive because I feel like I've told the story a bunch, but you don't know it.
I don't know
And it
it.
always comes out a little bit different, so I'll just tell it. It's,
Okay.
I was going to art school for painting, and I was really bottled up on the inside, and we were doing. I'm really going back for the details of this version. We were doing painting critiques, and everyone was doing something different, and I was just like, that's not worth getting into. I was just boiling inside, I think more so for other reasons like social anxiety and a need to express myself. And so I started doing performance art in art school, which is like art without the material, sculpture without a medium, right? So it's, and you can study performance art stuff from the 1970s. And there's a performance art class and all this stuff. And people did a bunch of weird shit. Like one guy just put lipstick on and taped his genitals to the side. Another guy
That guy's
brought in-
great.
And
He's
everyone's
great.
like, what an
Like put
artist.
fishnetting over his face and a weird spotlight. Another guy made us leave the classroom and he had a bread machine. And then we come back in like a little while later and he's like, I baked you bread. And he fed it to us and he's like, then he revealed
Jesus.
that
What school
and that
was
guy
this?
was Jesus. And then he revealed that there was plaster in the bread, and he said it had something to do with communism.
What a dick.
What a piece of shit.
What a piece of
He's
bread.
trying to teach you politics.
Anyway, mine were always performer audience oriented. So anytime I would go to do a piece, people would just line up their chairs because anything I thought of it was always theatrical. It was always like a monologue. And I did acting when I was younger. Anyway, so I started doing all these open mic nights, but they were, like poetry and people reading from their journals and all different types of people. And I just loved it. It was like my favorite thing. I was in San Francisco. So I would just, all the different kinds of people that would come in. And then comedians started coming because the comedy clubs were closing. And that was the first time where I thought, oh, I like that because that's somebody that knows their voice and is onto some of these other people. They think they're having an effect in a certain way, but they're not coming across the way they want to, which was fascinating to me. But then when I saw comedians, it was sort of this marriage of somebody that knew their personality and knew how to,
Who were
hit
those
the spots.
comics?
I didn't see Greg Barrett early on, but it was like Patton Oswalt. I'm trying to think of people who you would know. Blaine Capatch, do you know him? He was a writer on At Midnight, but he was a stand-up comedian that I met, and he did stand-up comedy for years and years. This guy named Jeremy Kramer. Who else would you know? Patton's probably Ron Lynch. You know Ron Lynch?
Yeah.
So then I started gravitating towards those types of rooms. And then somebody said, we're doing shows in LA. Do you want to come? And I had no business coming here. I had no car and $200 and said, yeah.
Lots of people do
But that's
that.
all I
Yeah,
wanted
that's where
to
I'm
do.
at right now, Mary.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. And look at you. So then I had, just started doing live shows. And that's all I wanted to do. And it was at the height of the alternative comedy scene. So I had tons of stage time but it was always something different every time.
Yeah.
And I was very much a character that I didn't know I was being. And also the thing about me, when I did performance art in college, people were laughing at me, but I didn't know why they were laughing. So,
But you liked it. You're like, this is good.
Yeah,
They're
and
laughing.
so, I'm making the story really long. Sometimes if someone were to ask me, I'd be like, yeah, I've been doing comedy 4 years. Because I really have only been doing it 4, 5, 6 years on the road.
Okay.
So I got to this point where I was like, either I'm going to quit because I've never fully given it up, but I was doing it very intermittently. And then I thought I'm either going to quit or get serious and do what I have never done and kind of bite the bullet and become the person who can do the 5 shows. And, it was sort of way after the fact because I kept, I have 20 years of being on stage and doing comedy. And I know a bunch of people from the 90s who know me as a comedian, but then, my biggest break was 24. So then, and I was lucky enough to get acting jobs along the way. So I would always kind of get drawn away into all these different
So
things.
now that you're doing the road, do you like the road?
Not really. I mean, I don't know. It's a very strange thing.
What do you like about it? What do you not like about it?
It's definitely, it makes you stronger and the connection can be amazing and sometimes you can be really loose and sometimes it can help you be really more concise. I mean, and for the most part, it's making things more concise, but it's your show. So if you have a certain thing going, you can just mess around for a really long time. And I like that. I like being in control and having a voice and not knowing what's going to happen. But, it's also a little bit of torture. And I found something out about myself where sometimes I won't rent a car and I'll just take the hotel they give me and I'll just be walking along the freeway and I'll go to a Chili's and
This
I'm
is
like,
literally Tony Baker's Instagram stories every weekend.
yeah.
He
and
just goes
it's-
to whatever hotel and he just walks like the earth for like 6 hours.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
comics. That's Tony
Yeah.
Baker. Like
I know.
that, there's
Okay.
like,
well, he's the one that
like
I
he's the
see.
forefather of wandering around.
But there's a part of me that enjoys that,
Yeah,
like torturing
that's very
myself.
comedian.
But it's also terrible, But then on the other hand, it's like, oh, I just took a 2-hour nap. But it's having all that. I mean, yeah, it's
There's a
everybody
lot
goes
of
through
in
that.
your head.
All
Like,
that alone time
Yeah.
to then, and then do the 2 to 4 show or not 4 shows, however many.
there'll be days like when I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I was like, oh, I don't have to be at the comedy club for like 10 hours. And I'm like, what's a good coffee shop? They're like, there's a Starbucks like 6 miles from here. And then there's like this other coffee shop that's like 12 miles. And I'll like look it up on Yelp and then I'll just walk. And they're like, you're not going to get there for a real. I was like, I have all day. and I'll just walk the 12 miles.
Now,
to
do
the
you
comedy.
find that you can get stuff done? Because sometimes when I have that much time, it's almost better to have an hour and go, you're writing for an hour. Because then when you have that much time, you start going nuts, right?
Yeah, because it's like I said, it's like it is like you said. I think it's a sports reference, but like it's like being a pitcher. Like you're in your head so much, you'll just like rattle yourself, and so that's why it's good to just walk around. Like I'll talk to strangers. I'll like go into stores that I'm have no interest in buying anything. Like wandering around a Home Depot. Like, can we help you find something? I'm like, no, just
Can you
We
talk
literally
to me?
do that here.
Can you talk
Yeah.
though? Do you have a couple minutes to talk?
yeah. Are you free for a minute? I need
Yeah, we went
help.
to a flag store until we had so many questions they asked us to leave.
Yeah,
Very
the woman was
politely.
just like, she's charmed at first, then annoyed. Like,
Yeah,
why
like
are
10
you
minutes later, like,
boys
you
in
boys
here?
are so nice, but we have to get back to work now. Thank you.
We're like, does Florida have a flag? And she's like, yes, it has a flag. Here's all the state flags. But that's a very comedian thing. I don't think that me and Gad always talk about that as like comics like old guy stuff.
Yeah.
We love a stroll. We love like a park bench. We love a soup. We like
That's
anything
hilarious.
old. But I love the road for that reason. But the difference is I don't have a family. Like I'm excited to be somewhere else and like meeting new people and performing and seeing what that gets me into at night. But that's why I was curious because you said you just started it, what, 5 or 6 years ago, the
Yeah.
road. It's quite an adjusment from being in LA and getting
my
to go up
son
like
is
the improv.
6 years. I'm just kidding.
No coincidence.
Yeah, I also go through this mini evolution of being torn away from my family. Like I don't want to leave, and then by Sunday
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, let's go out at night. 21-year-old comedians, like,
Yeah.
take me to the bar. And
Yeah.
then by the end of the weekend, it's like, oh, transitioning back home.
I feel
you
like
know?
that. And I'm not with the family or anything, but like I can identify with that. It's such a different, being home is so different than the road. Cause like I have nothing. Yeah, I'll go get trashed with you guys. Want to go strip club? I'm like, okay. Like I'm not a
You
strip
would
club guy.
never do at
I
home.
have.
No,
Oh,
I mean
yeah,
like
at home.
here
Yeah,
when you're in your
exactly.
daily life.
Yeah, if someone invited me to strip club tonight, I'd be like, no. Like, also delete my number. What are you talking about? I'm a grown up.
I have
But
things
when
to
you're
do.
in Iowa, you're like, all right, I guess, yeah, I'm open.
Or I'll go to the gym for,
I've never done that on the road.
sometimes I won't, but then if I get into the habit, I get so proud of myself. But I'll go for just 2 hours. I'll do
2
a stroll.
hours?
Well, I'll do a stroll, you
Or
know.
you're the rock.
Yeah,
you're
like
like,
in all
normally I
the
do
machines.
6, but
Yeah,
maybe
and I'll
just
just
2.
walk on the treadmill for 25 minutes.
hilarious.
And I'm like, oh, I'll just stay on this for an hour. Not
Just
like,
sit on this machine.
Yeah.
Look at my social media. That's fine though, because you
Yeah,
have all the
exactly.
road time.
Take a long shower. In the
It's not
gym.
your water bill.
No.
Smart. See, those are the perks of the road. I have like never mind. This story's pointless. But I was gonna say stuff that I do in the hotels, but it's
Uh-oh.
not that it's inappropriate, just that it's not interesting enough to be on the pod. So,
But
it sounds so
when I
stupid.
said taking a long shower, that's super interesting, right?
Well, it is something I identified with. So I was like,
Our
yeah,
viewership went up.
people want to
So-
hear it. People want to hear it. But I guess this is a weird way to word this, but like when you were younger, did you say, I want to be an actress? Or did it just kind of happen when you went to art school? Or class?
I did children's theater when I was younger, and the only thing I was interested in high school was acting. But I grew up in such a way, in such a place that I didn't think any of it was possible, and I certainly didn't think that I was a person who could make that happen. So it was a series of organic. The first one was my friend going to San Francisco for a semester, and I caught wind that she was doing that. I was like, I have to go, and I didn't know
Yeah.
why, but it was and sure enough, it was an amazing just to be in that city, and taking public transportation and going to the coffee shops and all that
Yeah.
stuff was magical to me. And then I realized what I was chasing was that desire to perform, and it's really weird because I still have it, even though I'm at the point in my life where it's like, ugh, like I don't want to, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to anybody, but I still, if I'm being honest, I always feel better if I just tear myself out of the house and go do a set. And then after
yeah.
my set, I'm like, okay, things are okay now.
You're a real
And,
comedian.
Yeah, that
Uh,
is exactly my emotions.
Yeah.
But it's a very bizarre thing because then when you don't do it for a while, it's weird because I have this inkling, if I'm honest, it's not like I got to get on stage, but there's this like thing that tugs at me, even though the greater part of me is like, yeah, I don't need to leave my house ever again. But it's like finding that little voice that's going, come on, don't you want to get on stage? And then once you do, I don't know, it brings that connection to the world
Sure.
that I can't really get any other way.
I always say it sounds so like I'm making it like I'm guilty of making stand-up seem so much deeper than it is. But I feel like comics are very secure and happy or satisfied because they feel heard. Even if you bombed, like people listened to you.
Yes.
And like
Yeah.
that's such a need for all humans, but not all humans have that outlet. Whereas I can just go, and also comedy is very empowering in the way that like if I bomb, my boss is like, man, fuck him. Like you'll get him tomorrow. Like they don't care if I even do bad. So if I do want to rant, just like Donald Trump's a piece of shit. I hate, like they wouldn't care. My boss would be like, here's your money. Like thanks for coming tonight. You want some food? Like it's a great, I don't know. I think that's very like liberating.
Yes.
So
Like that's part of the art form is to be able to do that and be respected for doing that.
that's fine. Yeah, you can say whatever you want. They shouldn't have yelled at you. Like Lori Kilmartin wrote like an open letter about that, like how comedy might have be the only profession where a woman can just yell at a guy from the stage and be like, you tiny dicked piece of trash. Like you can say anything and it's fine. It's completely
I've had
fine.
all
That's
sorts
nice.
of mini I don't know what the word would be, turning points, I guess, and that was one of them where when I first started getting out of just the very alternative rooms and doing more straight comedy shows, I was so reactive. It was so easy. It was such a habit for me to go, oh, well, what do you think? And just, my personality, I had to learn how to go, no, I'm telling you what I think. And like, you can shut up and hear. And it's just the steps in that direction of, telling people and doing it over and over again and being the person that's driving the conversation. So, going back to what you're saying about when did you want to be a comedian, I never identified with comedians for that reason because I came from a place of I didn't think I had a voice in any way. So it's been a discovery of that.
Really?
And I always saw comedians, especially when I was very young, I couldn't articulate it, but it was like dudes that stood on stage in a suit and were like, here's what I think about this thing. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Carpool lane.
They're so smart and they're so, I can't put my thoughts together like that. And a lot of my early stuff as the performance artist was just bits of phrases. It's almost like me trying to put my head together in a public forum.
It's
and
like
I think
therapy.
that's,
For 100%.
so like I didn't know how to have an opinion about that. So that's been a process of discovery as well.
That's
Because it's
amazing.
not just about telling someone to shut the fuck up. It's having something to say.
Having a reason to tell them to shut the
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
up.
Well, yeah, because
Or
if you're
if
just
the
like shut
opportunity-
up and you're
Yeah.
not funny and you don't have a point otherwise, then
Sure.
everyone else is going to be
Yeah.
like, fuck you, man. Like, we don't want to hear what you have to say anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't just shut down a heckler and not know where you're going to go next. I mean, obviously you can many times not know where you're going to go, but have a purpose for...
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's telling the
Understand.
rest of the audience you're in the driver's seat. Like,
Right.
like you're saying, no, I'm in control of this. This is my show. These are my, and so like,
And I think that's the surface, simple, I'm in control here. But there's also the deeper thing would be like, well, what is your point and what do you have to say?
why are
and
we
you better
here?
have
You're
one.
afraid they're
Yeah.
going to agree with the heckler? Like,
Exactly.
wait, maybe he's right. She shouldn't be, like, that's so funny.
But that goes back to what I was saying about being reactive, which is a very simple thing. It's like, oh, just stop doing that. But how do you stop doing that?
Sure.
You have to find what you're saying. And because if you don't have that, then you're just acting like you're shutting someone down.
Right.
When really my tendency is to be like, oh, really? Well, tell
Yeah.
me what's going on with you,
But it's funny as though that observation is very humorous, which is like what you'd say is like, I don't know what to say to you because my instinct is, and like if you
I
shared
want
that,
to give you a hug.
yeah, they're gonna be like, oh, I kind of am like that. Like that's a great thing about comedy is that if it's just honest, like you're making me so uncomfortable by yelling because I'm afraid. Like I care about your feelings when I shouldn't. I shouldn't care about your feelings. You're being mean to me and you're
Yeah.
ruining the show for everyone else. But like that going into your brain is what people go, wow, she's being so honest here. Like this is how she feels. And we believe that of her. So it's like
Yes.
powerful. So wait, when you said if you didn't know you want to be stand-up, and you said that like it kind of was like this organic series of moments that made you want to be an actress or a comedian, what did you tell people you wanted to be when like you were going to school or when you were like young?
Oh gosh. I don't think I really
Really?
told anybody.
Never?
Nobody asked. They're like, and the next person.
Like
Never
Tony
mind.
wanted to be a baseball player.
Well, for a while, like when I was really young, but then like I was like, I'm not gonna go. Once I was
Really?
like, when I was in high school, I was like, I'm not gonna go pro.
You didn't have that in your brain? Maybe that's why I'm just so
No.
delusional.
Well, also because I knew I had 2 older brothers who were both better than me, who didn't go pro.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of like, yeah,
Oh really?
yeah. So
So what did you tell people you wanted to be then?
kind of the same. I didn't have an answer until
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't until I started. Like I accidentally took an acting class in college,
Mhm.
and I was like, there it is. That's what I want.
Because Aaron
So I had no
lied all the
idea.
time about his because he didn't have an answer.
Yes, I just made up new ones all the time.
That's
Yeah.
what I was
People
like,
made me
I don't know.
stick to it. It was awful.
This room
They
is
bring it
full
up
of
again.
I
non-committal
said,
people.
Yeah, I said I want to teach math because I was good at math,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, I hate math.
Yeah.
Wait, so when you
So I
were a
don't wanna do
kid,
it.
you were like, I want to be a comedian? You knew?
I knew I wanted to be a comedian my whole life.
No way.
100%.
You're-
But I wanted to be a baseball player. But I just wasn't good enough. And I knew that that wasn't the
All right.
thing. But I knew I was making the class laugh all the time. I also knew I was probably not going to graduate. I knew I had horrible grades. So I was able to eliminate all the things that maybe I would have wanted.
Well, I knew I wanted to be a comedian. I just didn't know I was allowed to even say that.
Well, I did. I remember saying to a teacher, it's not a very flattering story, but I remember telling a teacher, like, I don't want to be you.
Oh my god.
Because the teacher's like yelling at me, and I was like, yeah, but you,
was it?
you
Who
make.
was it?
I've read in the paper they make horrible grade or they make horrible money. Like they're always griping of like going on strike. It was Mr. Graham.
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
We went to the same high school.
Yeah.
Oh, you
it's
did?
like
years-
Where?
Years apart.
but in Seattle. So
Well, he's like yelling at me, and I'm thinking, like, bro, I know for a fact you guys make crap money. I know, like, you just hate kids and you work at this. Like, I don't want to be you. You can't talk. I'm going to be. And I would watch, like, SNL or, like, these TV shows, and I'd say, these guys, that's a real job. Those are human beings who live in the world. I just want to do that. I'll do what those guys do. And so, yeah. So I kind
Pretty
of like,
amazing.
yeah, well, just like
No.
in my mind, I was just like, I don't know. I'll just be Chris Farley.
Every year he still goes to Mr. Graham right to his class and goes, see you stupid
No.
shit.
But I've had teachers reach out to me all the time, like social medias. They'd be like, man, you. One of my favorite stories is Mike Carney. We had a guy at our school, he's jacked guy, he's huge, so like strong. And I remember one of our teachers, he's probably happy if I don't say his name, so I won't say the name.
Not
The
strong.
teacher brought
Not strong.
the teacher, old guy, real sweet guy, good teacher too. He loved kids. He put the test down in front of Mike Carney, and it was like, he goes, not your best work. Mike Carney wadded up the paper, whatever, threw it at the back of his like neck and head, and goes, I'm gonna play in the NFL. And like he goes, get out of my class. And we never saw Mike Carney in that class again. But the fun part that is a horrible story, he really did become an NFL player, and he
my
played like he did
Pro Bowler, yeah, like-
really good. And it's like, obviously, if you're a kid and you listen to this or something, that's horrible behavior. Don't ever do that. That's awful. But
Unless you're Mike
but it
Carney
makes
size,
it does
then
make it a
do
little bit more fun that he was so driven and so focused and knew exactly what he was going to do that he's like, no, I promise you,
Well, I
I'll
mean,
be in the NFL.
For me, like now, once I like it started happening, I could like look back on my life and see like
yeah,
this is
Right.
what I've always wanted. I just kind of the same thing as you, like not for me. And then until I started doing it, I was like, yeah, okay, I can see where the seeds were planted
yeah.
all along.
This question might be offensive.
Uh oh.
Oh,
Are you
I
ready?
like this.
Yeah, Aaron's our heel. I don't put you in this camp because every time I've had an interaction with you, I think that you're so fun and like charming and like I've always like when
Where's it going?
I do. I always feel like I'm
Buttering
like
you up.
Oh no, I know.
no.
Where's it going?
I've genuinely always had like really great interactions with you.
Yeah, but how would you kill
However-
yourself? I'm just kidding.
98
What?
98%
So dark.
of the comedian or not comedians, 98% of the actors that I meet in my life, especially since moving to Los Angeles, have been so weird. I don't know why, and I don't like when people lump comedians together. I don't
thought
like
you
when
were
people
going
lump
to
a profession.
woman place.
No. But I'm asking, do you find actors are weirder than your comedian friends? I mean, I don't want to. You don't have to answer if you don't want, but it's
But
just
if
like
you want to throw somebody under the bus, we'd appreciate
I
it.
definitely, I have a love for actors, but I also, if I'm going into a work situation, there's always that anxiety of how seriously they're going to take themselves.
Sure.
Because I do think there's two camps and maybe the lines blur a little bit, but of people that are hilarious. I mean, the best kind of actors are the ones that are great actors and serious, but also do not take themselves seriously. Then you're like, you're the funnest because you can execute on this high level and be serious, but also be ridiculous. But yeah, it's really nerve-wracking to go into it, especially if it's something where you know you're gonna have to spend time with somebody and you're just like,
it's
"Ew,
hard. Like if I can't
God."
get along with them socially, it's hard for me to pretend on a set that we're having this organic. I'm like, and maybe it shows how like judgmental I am, but I don't think I am until I get in those situations where I'm like, this guy is something is weird about this. I always think they're like murderers or something. I'm like, how can they not just interact? Because all my
Like
comedian
so
friends,
sincere or
they're
something.
like it seems like they're like doughy-eyed, like Stetsford wives. I don't even know if that's the right term, but like that kind of like robotic, like they know how to play all these other things so well. But then like when you just try to interact, like what movies do you like? And they're like, oh, I don't even watch much TV. It's like, well, you're an actor. Don't say some pedestrian ass line like I don't even watch TV. Like it's, I don't know. And I'm being a hypocrite because I hate when people lump a profession, like because people do it with comics all the
But
time.
there are amazing actors that are very well studied in movies, and I mean those are like the badass people.
Well, but
who
I'm
are
just saying,
really
like
smart.
socially, do you find them weird? I mean, because like
Which
Tom
group
Cruise,
is
right?
weirder?
Like there's all these like weird stories about Tom Cruise, and he's a very talented actor and like knows what he's doing. But
Right.
I don't know if it's like the process where you learn, like when you have to do, what are those things called? There's like Meisner techniques and all those kind of
Yeah.
things. Like, does that make a person just kind of go screwy? Like what?
I mean, I can remember I took an acting class briefly, and I just was like, everybody in here drives me nuts.
That's
I hate you all, and I will go further to say
That's
that
what I meant.
they rehearsed. Oh my God! And I realized that it was me, but in the moment I was like, this is ridiculous. The injustice of this. Like people would go and rehearse their scenes. Okay, which is fine, right? You get assigned a thing with however many people. We're gonna get together outside of class and rehearse. And they took it so seriously. And I remember I was a little bit late to the rehearsal, which I was already the amount of rehearsal and the real props and the music cues. I was like, oh, like this is way too much work.
I wish I had the confidence to pretend
to
like
go
I'm
and
drinking out of a
rehearse-
soda can
and
and
rehearse
not
the
have anyone
scene.
laugh at me.
Oh.
And they're like reading,
Even
you're
that,
like,
you're going for the
don't
goof.
act like, or like, have you ever? I'm sure you have, but like when you're in a audition room, like I'm just looking over my lines. I don't sit there and go. Like I'm aware that I'm in a room with 12 other guys. It's embarrassing. Like I'm just sitting there going, why are they all doing
They don't
this?
got boundaries, man.
But that's the thing.
That
and
is super weird.
It makes me so uncomfortable every time. And
I don't know. Now, sometimes when I see that, because I've gotten to the place where I definitely agree with you, but sometimes when I see that acting out, I go, oh, they're not. It goes back to what you were saying about comedians being on stage, which also can backfire, and comedians can be really bad actors. But we're taking the line of like, you're in your body, you know how to express yourself, you know what your
should be
mechanisms
unnatural.
are.
I shouldn't be like, this is where I raise my hand up.
Yeah, and some actors need that, and maybe they don't have the luxury of performing a lot, right? So they have to practice being in their bodies.
Yeah.
So they treat their bodies like puppets? Okay, sorry, that really...
Go on.
Well, no, in the
Yes,
sense that
Aaron.
they have to kind of
Aaron
control
found a
every
link.
limb.
Between a puppet
No, I
and
just think it's a different approach. I think that comedians are
Because if I see somebody like
talking a lot
purposely
and
like,
they're
my
out a
choice is
lot.
I move my arm. You're like,
Well, yeah,
strong choice.
well, so like my ex-girlfriend, whenever she would have like an audition, like for my audition, I would run it a bunch of times. And then when I got like comfortable with it where I didn't have to like look at the words anymore, I'd be like, all right, we're good. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I feel
Whereas
like I want
she takes like a pencil and she writes like, oh, right here, I'm feeling this. And I would maybe brush my hair behind my ear. That's a weird example, but she would put little things that she would do that felt good when she tried it that one time. Whereas when I'm in the room, I'm not thinking about how my hands, I'm just doing it as I would do it. And that's just a different way of preparing and making choices is all it is. But
your body is a puppet.
yeah.
Well, in my first acting class in New York when I was in college, the first thing we had to do for the semester was
Get awkward.
we had to do a monologue, a monologue from Julius Caesar, but we had to literally all do it the same way. Where like the teacher broke down like on this line is you point this way, and then I was like, ugh, like that's not why I wanted to do what I do, you know?
Right.
Like just to be the puppet. Like I was like, oh, we're just this guy's puppet.
Wait,
Like,
but if
that sucks.
in that exercise, is he looking for you to still find a way to be you within those motions?
Nope, we have to do exactly how it's done that way. We have to say it the right.
Yeah, I was going
exact
that
way.
direction too. I thought you were going to end it by going, and then it was this refreshing
Yeah,
thing
exactly.
where
We
you
figured
noticed
out that our faces are still our faces.
Right.
No, it was
One of my
literally-
favorite-
It was literally like, here's the direction. You take this direction.
I can't believe we haven't had him
Exactly,
on
two, two.
yet. But Mitch Burrow, I've always sharing stories about him, but he did a Meisner class, and they did like a technique where you stand next to each other or facing each other, and you just have to say one word back and forth of like what you're feeling. And the person's like annoyed, and then he's like happy. Like he didn't know what to say because it's just so vulnerable and it's so uncomfortable and it's just so not what people do.
yeah.
And so he's trying to, and he said it got so weird that he eventually just hugged the other guy, like just gripped him and hugged him because he didn't know what to do. And Mitch is a very sweet guy, so that might have been a natural feeling for him. And the teacher, the teacher walked over like. And was just like, this is acting, like just going crazy about it. And Mitch is like, no, I just didn't know what to do, so I hugged the guy. But I think that I identify with that story so much because like I can get on stage in front of 1,000 people and tell jokes and seem natural and it doesn't seem uncomfortable. The idea of being in a room with like 12 other people who also want to be famous actors and doing these little games is so foreign to me and so uncomfortable and so weird.
So
I don't
it was
know.
always my least favorite part.
Yeah.
Like just let me do
The scene.
stuff.
Yeah, let me learn.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
very
I
weird.
definitely go both ways. I can totally relate to writing the things down the margin, but it
Sure.
took me. I would say I'm better at for comedy and for acting. I'm more prepared now than I ever have been. And there was something like during pilot season. It was like a Catholic housewife from the 50s. Not that has anything to do with my behavior necessarily,
just
but it was a
breakdown.
certain vibe of a woman who was in control, and she was a little bit aggressive in her language, and it wasn't natural to how I would do things. So
Right.
I rehearsed it, and I was really proud for putting that prep in. And then once you go to do it, you kind of like throw away that prep and just do it. But you
Right.
prep it so much so that it comes out different than how you would naturally do it. I think is probably also where actors are coming from when they
Right.
do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But there are certain things like certain sitcoms where you're like, really, just read it. But then on the other hand, some of those sitcoms, it's so concise to hit a certain rhythm that then that becomes unnatural because it's
Yeah.
supposed to be natural. And then I've done that too, where I have to rehearse their phrasing
Right.
because I know that that's what they want to hear. And if I just do it natural, it's going to be off the page.
Sure.
So I almost have to focus in to not like screw around with their thing.
Do you still audition or do they just offer you things now?
Oh,
Or
I
it's
still
both?
audition. I like
Okay.
how you think I have so much money and that I don't audition. I wish
I
that was
believe
my life.
that, yeah, you've been on, you're
Well,
successful.
I
actor.
would say
I
what's
just don't
so
know how
fair
it
about
works.
that is that you are such a type where they could see a role and be like, "That's a Mary Lynn role."
You would think. That's how I feel. Every time I get a call for an audition, I'm like, you know what I look like? You know what I sound like?
Send the reel.
Do you
saw
want
my
me to
reel.
do you want
Yeah.
me to do this part and trust that I will
Yeah.
do? Which by the way, those are the best parts I've ever gotten. It sadly is not. I'm in a certain place
Has
right
it ever
now.
happened where someone just was like, "Hey, we want you for this," and they
Yes.
just
Of
go straight to
course.
you?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Of course. And what would that be?
Well, my best jobs, all my best jobs have come from the person knowing what they wanted and knowing that they wanted me for that job. That was Larry Sanders. That was 24. That was a Paul Thomas Anderson movie that I did called Punch Drunk Love, where the head of 24 saw me in that movie and said, "I'm going to write a part for you."
Oh, that's great.
I mean,
By the way, I've watched that like 20 times.
Gary Shandling and John Rigi, who's the showrunner for Larry Sanders, were in a room. There's a whole other backstory where my manager sent them this comedy tape where it was back when I was doing like a performance art. And then my friend, I go, they're just going to think I'm a freak. But I got a television spot because it was on Janine Garofalo's show at the time, and we were all in the same circle, and they all thought I was funny, but I knew I was like, I'm gonna bomb in front of this audience. And my friend goes, just say you're doing a performance art piece at the beginning and say that piece is that you just took acid. And then everything you say after that. He goes, you just need to give them the framework so they know that you're okay, which I thought was brilliant. Because I just had all these like beyond non sequiturs. Just weird. Anyway, that tape went to the Larry Sanders Show, which you get something from watching that, but it's just like a weirdo, right? Anyway, so they had seen that tape, and then but I was in the room. And it was the best audition ever because I remember going like, what's going on with you? And they would like look at each other and we just like laughed and they go, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you doing? And then they kind of like whispered to each other and I'm like, and it was just.
You got to be yourself.
Small talk of, And then they hired me and they brought me in the room seeing like, okay, she has this quality and they trusted that I could execute the part in a way that they would like.
I feel like sometimes
that's the best.
They have you go to those things because they're just like, do we want to work with this person?
Yeah.
And they see you and they go, I want to work with her. Yeah. Whereas like sometimes like I just did a thing and I won't name any names for my own career's sake, but like it's the first time being like on a real movie and like one of the actresses was so great. And then the rest of them, it was like I was not even there. And like anytime I'd say something funny, they would just behave why is he talking kind of thing.
Oh, so you have a real specific, when you talk about actors, you just
when I was saying that I think they're weird, I just learned that they can be rude.
New layer.
I know. All the other times I just thought they were weird. That's what my question was directed at. This one was like, oh God, there's like a whole hierarchy like on set and a whole like thing like that. But I did find like I felt so much more comfortable and so much more I don't know, just comfortable when it's someone you can get along with. So like that's so key on a thing is like, oh, I like working with her. It's good. Did you get along with all the people you worked with? I know you have a bit about like Does Kiefer. Yeah. But you guys have probably a great relationship.
Yeah. I mean, that was every set is different. The mood on every set, the how the crew gets along with what tone is set by the higher ups and that amount of time we were on 24, it was really special because it was also a show that was groundbreaking at the time. So people were pumped to work on it. Oh my
gosh. When I learned about that, like when they were like, this is how dumb I am. When they announced it at 24, like they were pitching it to the public, like, oh, every episode is an actual 1 hour. I was like, are there going to be 8 episodes of him just like sleeping? Like, like where just nothing's happening? And they're like, no, stupid. Like that wouldn't be a show.
I was like, that's a good question.
But it was groundbreaking.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I've heard the producers at different press things go, we didn't want to see him eat a sandwich, because some of the press is trying to be, no one ever goes to the bathroom. And they're like,
we
because
just wouldn't
no
show
one
that.
wants to watch that.
Yeah.
So
it's
we
still
don't,
a TV show.
Well, some people probably want to watch that.
I did ask that when I was a little boy. I asked my dad, I was like, how come the guys in Star Wars like never go to the bathroom or nothing? He's
That's
like, they
so
do.
funny.
It's just not a thing. And then that's what press people are asking as like adults.
I was just going to say that show in particular, and I had enough experience before that to know that sometimes it's just there's so much tension on set. There's so many different things that you don't know that are happening. But this one in particular, the crew also had an investment in it because they were allowed to make creative choices as well.
That's cool.
It's one of those situations where everyone was just excited to be there and excited to work on it because it was a different kind of a show. And I think some of those episodic shows for people become a job after a while because they know, like, here's the shots, here's how the story's going to happen. But it was a pretty special experience in that way.
You got to play a gothic version of yourself.
I did.
Which was cool. But
thank you for knowing that.
Of course. When that happened, how do they settle that to you? Because, like, again, all my experiences are just of like my past girlfriends and these kind of things, but like you would have to pay them millions of dollars to be like, oh, we're gonna cut your hair in a certain way and but you were excited about it or no?
I mean, what do I care?
You don't care
about cutting my hair?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like they're like, we're gonna make you look like this, like, and you're just like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I could have pushed for wearing a wig, but I mean, that's
didn't care.
That's what you do.
I'll dress like
You
whatever.
wouldn't get your hair
I
head
would.
shaved?
No, I just know a lot of girls in this town that are like, I'm not gonna look like that for.
Well, I mean, that's a certain kind of girl. That's,
that's
that's who you date. Hi, how are you? You date hot girls that don't want to change their look
Yeah.
because it messes with their mojo.
Yeah, it messes with their
You can't
confidence.
mess with
and-
my mojo.
That's the thing about you. That's great. So you didn't care. You're just like, yeah. You were excited.
Yeah.
All right.
Really got to have some more women on the show. I'm going to send some moms in here.
You got some
You get the-
moms?
you get the
I'd like to
lowdown.
just interview a regular mom. She's like,
You're like,
why?
not you, a regular mom.
She's like, why am I doing this? And you're like, listen, what was it like?
Am I wearing diapers?
Did you do it on purpose or was it an accident?
What's wrong with you? Am I wearing diapers?
I don't know how to talk to moms.
I don't. Well, it's not that I don't. We just don't have a lot of like responsible people on the podcast. Like one
That's
guy's
because
talking
we
about
don't know
drugs.
responsible people.
Yeah. Does Jeremy Piven have kids?
No?
Who else? I'm trying to think.
Well, if he does, he definitely did not talk about them.
Yeah, that's true. I'm
I
trying
don't
to
think
think.
I don't think we've had anyone on.
Did you have him talking about stand up?
Yeah, it was he's great. But he ended up talking about acting most of the time
Mhm.
because that's his like true passion. He's like stand up is his new adventure for him. But
A lot about his dad. His dad is
well, his dad is like obsessed with acting and made
Exactly.
him act. But that's an old episode.
that you should listen to.
This is the Mary
audience.
Lynn episode.
I mean, yeah, I definitely have an aversion to studying, but I have learned how to, I was going to say repeating things, but
Mhm.
you do that in stand up. There's definitely a discipline, especially the more people I meet, successful comedians, they
Yeah, it's a grind.
yeah.
But also like
It's a grind,
it's
and
just
there
such
is
a
a
different.
discipline to saying things a certain way and paring things down and
Mhm.
adding to things and memorizing it in a certain.
I remember a long time ago I had this bit about like Batman villains or something. It's like 2008. And I like crushed the first time I ever did it. And then the next time I did it, it didn't. And then the third time I did it, it did okay. It was just kept being whatever. And I remember Andrew Slater, who's a very good comedian and a very close friend of mine, especially at that time. I go, man, I just can't figure this bit out. Like, I just don't. I was like blaming it on the crowd in a way. I was like, sometimes it crushes and then sometimes it doesn't. Maybe it's the different rooms. I'm playing like bars sometimes and then clubs and then alt rooms sometimes. And he goes, no, it's you. You haven't said it the same time once. Like, sit down, fucking put the words in the order that you think it should be, and then commit to it once it does. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not doing the work. I'm just getting up there and presenting this idea like haphazardly, and the crowd, when it's worded correctly or in the right order or with the right punchlines.
Right, depending on your mood, you're
Right.
going to say it a different way that doesn't necessarily bring them into it.
When I
or-
didn't have like it formulated. So
Yeah.
like, the idea was probably fine. It was just the way I was saying it.
Right.
With like one night it was like crush, but I didn't record it.
Or they're not following
didn't
it.
write
They're
it
not
down.
clear
Yeah.
because you missed a word or two. They're not clear where you're going.
But that's the beauty of stand up too, is that you get to say whatever the hell you want. Whereas like with acting, like I've done so many auditions where I'll try and be like, I'll add some stuff. And they're like, no, do what the paper says. Like, it's a bad trait. Has stand up hurt your auditioning or helped?
I did have one recently. I guess I can name names. Why not? It's Diablo Cody, who I have great respect for, and I think
Mhm.
she's wonderful. There's a butt coming. No, but I went into the audition, and I will say I was pretty burnt out because I auditioned for a bunch, and by the time this one came, and I read it, and I liked the script, but it was written to be a 3-camera sitcom, and because of all the stand up that I've been doing, which I probably wouldn't have done this years ago,
Yeah.
but I was like, clearly there's a joke there. Like, why did you just have this taper off and your
Yeah.
character's just like da da da? I'm like, what? This is written as if there's a rhythm to it, but there's so many instances, and so I went in there and I just really was like, I was so agitated about that I kept saying, well, then there's a joke here. And I kept like doing what I thought was fixing all the stuff. And
Right.
she's like, well, thank you. Like,
Offended.
made it a lot funny. I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And I did not get the part. And
But that is you being passionate about the material, which is great.
yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
taking that angle.
I think that I
It
would
didn't
like.
work in my favor, but
Right.
and again, I wasn't saying this is a piece of shit. I was just looking at it, and I think it's so true to her voice and the way that she writes. And there were things that lent themselves to having, lines that would make it into a punchline.
Right.
And
Well, that's my biggest pet peeve in film today is that like the character that is hilarious that no one is getting these brilliant jokes. So like Juno, she's like a pregnant teenager and she's just laying haymaker after haymaker of great jokes. And they're just like, Juno, go to your room. Like, it's like, what? Like, if anyone was hanging out with that little girl, they would be like, she's the funniest human we've ever heard in our lives. She should be a comedian. She has got a bright future. She's so creative.
that's
but like,
hilarious.
And that happens
but
in a lot of like
for the sake
sitcoms.
of the story, they have to go like, oh.
She's unruly. You're like, no, she's a genius, a comedic genius. Like, and because comedic writers are writing these great lines. I forgot what I was going to ask you about that. I ranted about my own thing, and then I forgot what I was going to ask you.
So
I know, it's very selfish.
I remember the AD. This is kind of fun. The fun one. I haven't told Mark Maron this to his face. It doesn't really matter. She said that. I was like, okay, so then AD that I worked, assistant director on 24, worked on the Mark Maron show, and I was like, oh, like how is it? And she's like, it's great. He's hilarious, but she goes, he won't. This is so near and dear to because he's such a comedian. She goes, he won't rehearse. And it was driving her nuts because in his mind, he wanted it to be fresh. But in her mind, she's like, I need to know where you're going so I can tell the camera.
Everything.
Saving some time. But I just thought that was the best collision of two worlds and to hear it from her point of view where she's like, what? We need to rehearse because now it's different and I have to start over.
Yeah, the first take becomes the rehearsal.
Yeah.
Mark thinks it's about it, like his needs going like, no, I don't need it. Thank you, though.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, but we need it. That's really weird. Yeah, acting and comedy, I feel like it's such a weird thing. Like Mitch Hedberg is that great joke about that. Like you work so hard to become a great comedian, and then once you become a great comic, they're like, "Hey, can you cook?" Because that's what they do. Like by just throwing us into these acting things. Like I must have lost 100 parts like the first year I moved to Los Angeles because I was doing so well in stand up. They're like, "Oh, get him in this room, get him in this room," and like I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to like.
What year did you move to LA?
2008. And then by like the next year, when it's pilot season, like we don't need to see that guy. He came in here and made a mess of the room. He doesn't know what he's doing. But those were huge opportunities that I didn't realize that like I had missed.
What would you say that you did to mess that up?
I wasn't prepared. I didn't know how to act. Nobody taught me like what to do. I'm like reading it right off the thing. I mean, there's just like all the things.
I mean, that goes back to what you were saying about writing those notes in the margin. Like, yes, I'm sure you had like a wonderful natural way to read it, but there are, choices that need to be made in there and turns you have to make.
My biggest fear is that I was like an open micer learning it as I went with acting. But the problem was that instead, it'd be like, starting in big rooms where all the bookers are like, we don't want him anymore.
Right.
That's kind of what happened.
Saying. You got sent right to producers or whatever.
Like huge things. And they're like, no, we don't ever need to see him again. That was the worst read we've ever had. He was not an actor. I swear to you. And my like manager at the time had to like sit me down like, hey, what do you think about doing acting classes? I was like, yes, please. I'm so afraid of going in there. Also, like I'm a slow reader. I've gotten better over time, but like I didn't learn to read till like real late in life. And sometimes they'll send you the whole script and be like, all right, read this. You're like, I have to read a whole script to like audition for it? Do you always do that?
Yes.
Oh my God.
You read the whole script.
Every time?
Really
Of course.
See,
never.
That seems like a no-brainer to you. And that is just crazy to me. Reading the whole script.
Yes, absolutely.
I can barely get through a bad
How many
movie.
scripts do you get during pilot season where you have to sit there and
A
read the whole
lot.
thing?
A
No,
lot.
exactly. You sit there and read all of it?
You have
Yes.
to, they do
Well,
For
tell
the
you.
audition,
You
yeah.
gotta think if you're doing a scene, like that scene fits into a
Thank
script
you. Got
somewhere.
an actor up in the,
like
in
you
the
gotta
house.
know like where that
I
person's
know I'm
going, what they
supposed
want.
to.
Yeah, but can't you just read 2 pages before and 2 pages
my
after?
Because also, if you read the whole script, it might inform you. You'll see what the other characters are doing, and you'll go, "Oh, they want this character to be like this."
Right.
It kind of guides you, not just to what the storyline is, but maybe the tone of the show, and if the other people have similar types of jokes,
See, I may
you're,
sound dumb
you're
because
like, "Oh, I'm like all the other characters. We're all a group," or "I'm the one that sticks out," or it's faster paced, or like that.
It's tricky.
Okay. I
I
mean,
know.
it makes sense. I just wouldn't.
I
have
know
done
I'm
it.
supposed to. When they say, "Have you read the script?" I always lie. Yeah, it was great. I lie.
I loved it.
You go, it's really funny stuff.
They're like, it's about World War II.
This is a cancer movie. And you're like, I know, but I meant it's great.
It took me a
didn't
long
mean
time to get
funny.
to the point to read scripts.
Yeah, because I mean, like he just said, like pilot season's generally like 25-page scripts or whatever the pilot is or whatever. But like you will get like 4 in a day or something. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Read all that. It's crazy. I don't know. I'm gonna be doomed as an actor. Is
How
what
long
we've
does it take you
determined.
to read 22 pages of a script? Should take you
this
30
guy?
minutes.
Here's the thing.
Max.
You're not wrong. No, you're absolutely not wrong at all. It's me getting the anxiety of going like, oh, I have a
Yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah, sure.
Like the homework of it, and
Yeah.
then me like putting it off, and me, I'll do it at coffee, and then I get to coffee and start answering emails and doing all the fun stuff instead of doing. Because I'm really disciplined about writing jokes. I'll sit at the coffee shop. I'll write for like hour, 2 hours. But when it comes to like having to read a thing on my computer, like I like just read a page and I'll start looking around. Like it's hard. It's hard for me. I'll learn. I'll figure it out.
Well, how'd you learn how to write like that? not look
I
around.
want to be doing it. Whereas like forcing me to read a story about a girl who falls in love with a boy who never thought she would. Like I've read that story 1,000 times. Let me guess. She's really cool and she's very funny and she's very edgy. And then she was opposed to marriage because she's a liberated modern woman. But then she meets a boy that changes all of her perspectives and she turns into the conservative relationship that we...
So every script you're getting the same thing? You're really getting typecasted that hard? Just like...
no, but
same.
what do people want? They want a love story. I mean, it's in everything. And so I get cast as the dude who...
Essentially, if you want Jeff to read your script, make your movie about Bigfoot. He'll check it out.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's the thing. If I was getting sent scripts like that, I would have already like been prepped and like ready.
I
Like
know. The script should be excited for. It's like
I'm
Dunstan
off
checks
book,
in.
and they're
You're
like, we
"I'm
just
with the
said
monkey
that."
the whole time.
That's what the ones.
Why do you love Bigfoot so much?
It's just interesting to me. I don't know why. Just like it.
More than love.
More than love. Way more than love. I love Bigfoot. Well, if you could play any role, what would it be?
Oh, geez. I mean, I'd like to be in some. Well, since we were talking about 24, I mean, I'd want to be the badass action person.
Nice.
I guess I'd want to be the Jack Bauer. But I also sometimes I would want to be in like a space movie. where
Nice.
I'm just like driving a
Like Star
spaceship.
Wars?
Or
Action
I'm like
movies?
the commander
Yeah.
or something.
You should be in Star Wars. That'd be a great fit.
How fun would that be?
Yeah.
Or
Guardians.
And
sometimes
also-
like I'll watch, a movie like that or like a Harry Potter.
You'd be great in
I'd be
that.
like, oh, I want to be some like gargoyle witch woman
You thought
who like has the key to the universe or something. That'd be
gargoyle witch woman.
Nice.
awesome. Be so great.
But those roles, like crush it now.
I'd like to be some older, like just curmudgeonly washed up and then just be like, and like kill
Yoda.
someone. Yeah. Well, Yoda doesn't.
He fights.
That's true.
Yeah. He's like all
Yeah,
bad.
CGI Yoda.
Yeah,
You could be
CGI Yoda started
Better
fighting all
yet, I'll
badass,
sit
but
at
we thought he was
home
just
and
some
just-
weird dumb puppet. I don't know. It's a bad example.
Hey, I'm not a weird dumb puppet.
Yeah, but you said you want to be
Right, we
old and
covered that.
curmudgeon. I thought Yoda. And then you're like, but then all of a sudden he's like, I was like, yeah. And then the prequels really revealed myself.
When
Yeah.
I say old and curmudgeonly, I mean the woman I am right now.
You're not
Go
old and
on,
curmudgeon-y at
guys.
all.
I'm not young.
Your
Moving
pers-
on. Moving
your
on.
joking perception of yourself is so preposterous.
That's why
You're
I
like,
had to
I'm
explain
awkward.
it.
It's like everyone loves you. You're like, I'm such an old fart. You're like, it makes no sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's true. Well, thank you for being on this.
Oh
We
my
find you
gosh.
delightful. Where are you going to
Thanks.
be this week? This is going to go up this week. So what can you plug?
I don't know.
Got any shows coming up?
No, I just put my avails in for the Comedy Store.
All right. So they should look up your. Where do
Marilyn
you?
Marilyn Rajskub on Instagram, on Twitter, MaryLYNN RAJSKUB.
And then that'll be updated.
Where do you post your gigs? On your website? I want to be like you.
Yeah, I think it's on my website. I don't.
It is. That's how I know whether I'm going to be able to get work done with you or not. I have to go to his website and be like,
Oh yeah.
All right.
Somebody updates.
he'll
it
be
for
free.
me.
On,
I don't know.
He'll be free on Monday. All right.
Yeah, I'm just doing spots in town right now for a little while.
What's your favorite club?
Comedy Store.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Is that where you first played when you came here?
No, people were very anti-comedy club in the 90s.
Yeah, especially you were saying about all those alt scenes and stuff. People don't know what that is. It's alternative comedy became just a place that wasn't in a club, but then it got labeled sort of as like, yeah, but they're doing things that are more than jokes. They're doing
Right.
things that they're jokes and they're funny, but they're not necessarily guys with suit coats with pushed up sleeves.
I mean, I used to do the
80s.
Young Cabaret, which is still around. I did all of like the ones that used to be in Borders books. I did all those.
I'm so
rooms.
frightened of
The
that kind
comedy
of
store
comedy.
was shunned at that time.
Really?
Yeah, it was, and if you talk to people at the comedy store, they talk about it being the dark days of the comedy store.
Oh,
Like,
I
people
remember
didn't
those.
go there.
I remember it being bad. when
Although I
Tommy
did do
was
an
there.
open mic room. I think it was before Tommy in the belly room. I did
Oh,
an
nice.
open mic for a while. I ran room with my friend.
Nice. So
Yeah.
you were there.
I was there.
You were in it. I recently did a comedy festival in Portland, or it's not in Portland. It's in Lincoln, Oregon, or something. It's called the Undertow Comedy Festival. Great festival. But Ron Lynch was one of the main acts, and there's like three of us that were like main showcase nights. It was like Ron Funches, myself, and then Ron Lynch. And then he came and he
Nice.
goes, "Hey, nice to see you again. I'm running a show across the way, and the way it works." And he started describing to me the show that he was putting on. I was like, yeah, maybe if I have time. I had time. I was just so frightened at the idea of what his show was. I was like, I can't do that. Like, I'm never going to do that. He goes, basically, you write down a piece of paper something that you've never done on stage, and then we all put them in a hat and we draw them. And then when you get up there, you have to do whatever that thing is. And in my mind, I was like, no, like I can't do that at all.
love
And he's
this
like, yeah,
story so
some people
much.
put like, I've never sang with my shirt off, or I've never. And in my mind, I was like, I cannot do that. And so I pretended like I was very busy. And then later on, I saw him at the thing, like the after party where everyone, like kind of the comics and everyone hangs. And I was like, oh, sorry, I couldn't make it. My show went long. I just totally like lied to him because I was just like so intimidated by the kind of show that he was putting on. It's frightening.
We gotta get you two back together.
I love Ron. Well, this was only like a month or two ago, but like I'm used to
We gotta
like
get
getting
you
up
singing
there,
with your
doing
shirt
my
off.
show. Yeah, just singing.
Like, oh, you would have drawn make out with a 10. We had a 10 there. You would have loved it. Too
Yeah,
bad.
I've never cuddled with a gentleman on a live stage. And like, can I draw again? Yeah, I feel like alternative comedy is a frightening thing for some, and then like regular comedy is a frightening thing for some. To be like my buddy Anthony DeVries cannot commit to telling a joke that he wrote in his life. He's just great at improv. We'll write jokes. We'll say, do those tonight. He can't. He just has to go like aloof. It's weird. But you're nowhere this week that you know of?
Nice segue.
Yeah, we went right back to
No,
it.
it's
We're doing
rambling.
the
Real
improv
professional.
I
tonight.
ramble.
I'll be in El Segundo having
El
dinner.
Segundo.
Dinner with my father-in-law
Oh.
tomorrow night. So
Can
come,
people-
come by.
go?
Come
How do
by,
people see
me
that?
there.
What
Just come on
restaurant
by.
is it?
Visit the G. Something starts with G. I don't know. You have to
Okay.
ask my husband.
Gapplebee's?
Like the most convoluted. Like try to find me. Try to find me in El Segundo.
I'll
be
buy
having
you a
dinner
drink if you
at
find me.
6:15. Some restaurant that starts with a G. I can't remember right
See,
now.
this is a good example of an alternative comic giving what she wants to plug.
Oh, geez. Where are you going to be at this week?
Aaron, where are you going to be is what I want to know.
Oh, I'm gonna be at the Cubs game tonight.
That's right. We're
Oh.
going to the
Stadium.
Cubs game.
Yeah, we're going to see Dodgers Cubs. I don't have any shows lined up this week.
No
man.
shows lined up. All right,
No, I'm
fair
sorry
enough.
for nothing special.
Tony, plug something, baby. Come on, give us a plug.
I'll be working this weekend at my job.
Yeah,
so-
I'll be
Oh
going.
my
I'll be
gosh.
there.
You guys have all gone alt on me.
I will be
Exactly.
at the Comedy Store. I just don't know when.
Okay. So
Whenever
if they
they
go to
give
the
me
comedy
spots.
store this week, they have a chance of seeing you.
That's right.
In
That's
one of the
exciting.
rooms.
And no
That's
chance to see
exciting.
me.
And it's
That's
not
what I'm
the
saying.
dark days anymore there.
It's not the dark days
No.
anymore, baby.
Things are back
It's a
heated
hot
up.
ticket.
That's right. Tommy's gone. Mitzi's gone. A whole new club.
Oh, I'm gonna be at a place.
What was that?
Oh no, you
Weird
became
show
the
called-
weird witchy.
I'm gonna be a show called Sauce. It's at a pizza place.
Named Sauce. What a cute name for
Isn't
a
that
pizza
adorable?
place.
No, that's
I-
the name of the show. It's called Sauce. I can't
Oh.
remember the name of the pizza place.
So again, you're leaving it ambiguous.
Yeah.
People got to find you.
On the 29th.
They gotta
I
earn
think.
Google LYNN RAJSKUB sauce.
Tonight
Be
at the
real curious
Improv.
to see
what
We
Comedy.
won't
hell
we'll
shows
miss
up.
tonight. Well,
Nice.
This won't
All
be
right.
up tonight.
Well,
This won't
I'm going to
be
be
up
in
tonight.
Boston all week at Laugh Boston. And then on Thursday, I'm going to Fenway Park to watch the Boston Red Sox.
at
Come
you.
see that. Come to that. Come watch the Red Sox. Yeah.
Real
Guys,
dates up here.
this has been fun. I wish we could ask you more questions about your family. That's what the people want.
Yeah, she told us specifically don't mention the family.
Yeah, before we
the
started,
interview.
she goes, don't you
Don't.
talk about them.
Yeah, there's secrets.
They are private. Do you talk about your family a lot?
Yeah, I talk about my husband and my kid on stage all the time.
Do they like
What
that?
school does your kid go to? What time do they get out?
How dare you, Aaron Marsh?
Freak.
What a piece of trash. Do they like them, or like, does your husband like it when you talk about him on stage?
Probably not, but
You've never asked him? What do you mean, probably?
he's used to it.
Oh, okay.
I did a whole one-woman show where I heightened everything that we've been through, and it was
So things
pretty
that were
shocking.
annoying were really heightened. And
Well,
things that were
like,
great were really heightened.
I knew him for 3 months and then accidentally was pregnant, and so the show was about, it was dramatized, but it was like a kernel of truth that's blown. So there's one
Sure.
point in the play where I was playing him and I was playing me. And I go, you were a revenge fuck, like that. Like I would never
That's been
actually
sticking
say
with him.
that, but no, that sticks with me.
Oh, it
So I was
does.
gonna take that show on the road, and I was like, I don't want to do all these. But it was like what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Where you put.
Catharsis.
Thank you, something
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Actors, they always know what the other is.
Is this a Pictionary thing?
And so I took like all the funniest stuff from that
Sure.
show, and some of that's still in my stand-up. But that
Nice.
was the whole arc of accidentally getting together with somebody and being angry at them all the time because you're scared and you don't know how to love the person.
Yeah. But he didn't like that one-man show is what you're saying.
I remember seeing his face. He was just like
Oh,
shell-shocked,
no.
like, what?
Wait, so when you were preparing for the one-man show or one-woman show,
Yeah, come on.
It's 2018, Jeff.
it's like mankind. You know, like one man
not
show.
anymore. We don't even believe
try
Nice
to-
cover.
don't try to
Nice
say
cover.
it.
You're
See
good.
what I did there?
You're good. He's good with
He
the
didn't hear
ladies.
any of that when you were like, "Oh, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to go over that." You're like, you do your own show. You don't run it by the husband. I don't know how it works being
No,
in
I
a
don't run it by
relationship.
him. I don't run by him.
Even your stand-up.
Sometimes, rarely.
Sometimes.
Has he ever been like, let's get rid of that one?
No, he'll punch it up a bit sometimes.
Really?
It's kind of funny.
I know a couple who's doing some material that he knows the couple.
I
Where-
don't know yet.
One of the people is doing some very, very extreme material that I would
I know who they are
presume
now.
the other party would not be happy
About
about.
sex.
Yeah, about
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, where it's nice. I don't have to like worry about anyone else's feelings when I'm just telling my jokes.
Yeah.
That's like a whole added layer of weirdness.
I love that I talk about my husband and my kid because I love that. And there's obviously a lot of real humor there. But I aspire to, my next phase is to have more, not political, but just more philosophical things about life and, talk about Bigfoot. But
That's-
talk about things that
You'll
are
be
outside of
you'll
me.
be my favorite comedian.
Because I
Sold.
think that which I do maybe half and half, but it's a lot about my kid and my husband because that stuff is fun,
Yeah.
like relationship stuff is ripe for the picking.
Yeah, I'm not even in a relationship, and like whenever I'm on the Tonight Show, all my jokes are like, "I'm single, I try to date." Like it's all that kind of crap because that's what people like. That's what people want. You're a delight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We missed.
That was the worst. There we go. There we go.
I think it was more of an act out. It wasn't even.
I wasn't even looking. I thought for sure it was good.
Friendship.
How great was LYNN RAJSKUB? She is the best. She's one of our favorites. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to rate. Unless you give it a bad rating, then just eat rocks. We don't need you here no more. But if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and maybe leave a little comment or a little emoji with a little kissy. Something like that. And then also, thank you to all the Patreons again. Patrons. I don't know how to say it. Patreoners. We love you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. See you next time.